What's going on, YouTube? It's your friendly neighborhood dork, Xbox God 7725, wearing a Mario hat, a Mario shirt, because today, June 5th, is the first anniversary of the Switch 2 coming out. I got mine on April 2nd after seeing Super Mario Galaxy in theaters, and the movie meant a lot more, and then getting the Switch 2 meant a lot more. But anyway, I thought I would mention my Switch 2 collection, my physical cartridges, or at least what I have physically. And first, we're starting with Detective Pikachu Returns. Up next is Disney Games Classic Games Collection, and this is a repackage because it's got Aladdin and the Jungle Book. Up next is Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver 1 and 2, and yet before you ask, yes, this was a numbered release. It is not the Amazon release. I got this from Limited Run before Amazon released it. Up next is Breath of the Wild. I do have the Switch 2 upgrade. I do not have the expansion pass. Up next is Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle. Up next is the best-selling Switch game of all time, which is Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. When I got my Switch 2, this was the first game that I bought alongside it. I bought one game before it, a week before, but we'll get to that. And it is the game that I bought with my Switch 2 is Mario Kart World. Up next is Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection Arcade Classics, and before you ask, I do have the comic book with this. Up next is one of my favorite alternate covers for Switch games, and it is Metroid Prime Remastered. I do like this artwork more than what is on the other side. Up next is Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection. Up next is Pigeon Dev Games Collection. I did do an unboxing of this in either 2020 or 2021. I was confirmed by Premium Edition Games to be the first person to unbox those in a video on YouTube. Up next is Pokemon Let's Go Eevee. I am a Pikachu fanboy. I do have that, but I also have it digitally. Up next is Pokemon Sword. I do have the DLC for this. Sword. Up next is Legends Arceus. I do have that. I do have the DLC. Up next is Shining Pearl, and before you ask, on the DS, I was a Pearl. I had Pearl growing up. I didn't have Diamond. I didn't have Platinum. I had Pearl. Up next is Pokemon Violet, which Lechonk is baby. Up next is Pokemon Legends ZA for the Switch 2, and before you ask, it does have the Switch 2 upgrade pack. If you do have a Nintendo Switch 1 and you do want to buy a Switch 2, it has the upgrade pack included. Up next is Red Dead Redemption 1. I do have the upgrade pack for this for the Switch 2, which is free if you already own this. So it'll run like a native Switch 2 release. Up next is the very first game that I bought for my Switch 2 before I even had the money for the Switch 2, which is Resident Evil Requiem. Surprise. Up next is Sonic Mania Plus, which I love this artwork more than the other artwork. It just reminds me of a Genesis game. I did grow up with the Sega Genesis as a kid. Sonic 2 was one of my favorites. Up next is South Park Snow Day. Up next is one of my favorite Switch 1 games, and after my brother and I got our first Switch at launch, this was the first game that I had pre-ordered after picking up Breath of the Wild and a couple other games, and that would be Splatoon 2. I love Splatoon, although I don't have Splatoon 3 at the moment. Up next is the unofficial Star Fox game by Ubisoft called Starlink, because on the Switch version, there's exclusive Star Fox missions, and there's a toy that's the AR wing. And those missions are not on Xbox, PlayStation, or PC, only on the Switch. Up next is Star Wars Outlaws. Up next is Super Mario Odyssey. Up next is my very first Switch game, because I actually, when I shared the Switch with my brother, I went and bought the Sword and Shield Switch Lite as my first Switch, and this was the first game that I received, was Smash Brothers Ultimate. This is a download code, which I hate, but, and it is Wolfenstein Youngblood. I swear Bethesda could have fit this whole thing on a 32GB cartridge. The whole game with DLC, or the update and DLC, which is just the Friendship Pass, is less than 25GB. They could have fit it on a Switch cartridge. Don't know why. And then this one is, you're not going to be able to see it in the light, but this is Zombies Ate My Neighbors and Ghoul Patrol. Anyway, do you have any of these games? Let me know in the comments. Is there any Switch 1, Switch 2 games I should go and pick up? Also, let me know in the comments. I do have another game on the way I have this from Gamefly, which is Pragmata. Yes, I do have Dead Gears still installed on my Switch. I haven't uninstalled it yet. I probably will uninstall it later tonight. Anyway, take care of yourselves. I love you. Peace. Bye. Happy birthday, Nintendo Switch 2.